In this video, I want to discuss rational expressions. Rational expressions are ratios of polynomials. So here are some examples. Notice that the numerators and denominators of each of these examples meet the definition of a polynomial. Okay? Now later on we will learn how to simplify complex rational expressions. We'll also learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide rational expressions, as well as solve equations involving rational expressions. For right now, for this introduction, I just want to show you how to evaluate rational expressions for specific variable values, and then also introduce you to the idea of the domain of a rational expression. Okay? So suppose for the first example we replaced x with 2. Okay, then that rational expression we would say it evaluates to 3/2. Okay? Now, in the second example, suppose I said that y was equal to 1. So I replace the variable with 1 everywhere, and so that one I would say evaluates to 1. For the last example, suppose we wanted to evaluate it for h equal to 0. So replace h with 0 and you will have 25/6 as what that rational expression evaluates to. Okay? Now, try to evaluate the first expression with x equal to 1. Try to evaluate the second rational expression with y equal to 0. And try to evaluate the last rational expression with h equal to 1. Okay, pause the video now and try that. Okay, I'll give you the answer now. So the first one evaluates to 3/1, or 3. The second one evaluates to 0/0 plus 1, or 0. The last one evaluates to 1 squared minus 25 over 1 squared minus 1 minus 6, or minus 24 over minus 6, or just 4. Okay? So we can keep doing this all day. We can keep evaluating rational expressions for different variable values. If you did that, you might discover a problem. Okay? Let me show you what I mean. So try to evaluate the first example, the first rational expression for x equal to 0. Try to evaluate the second rational expression for y equal to minus 1. Try to evaluate the last rational expression, example, for h equal to 3. If you do, you will see that all of those evaluations are undefined. The reason is because we're not allowed to divide by 0. Okay, it's for this reason that sometimes we ask the question, what are the values that we're allowed to replace the variable with in a rational expression? Okay, once you ask that question, you are asking for what's called the domain of a rational expression. Okay, so for the first example, the first black rational expression, the domain is all, you can plug in all values except for 0. So we would say x does not equal 0 is the domain. That's the set of all allowed values. What is the set of all allowed values for the second rational expression? Can you see that for that one, it's everything except minus 1? All right, so that, so y does not equal minus 1. And then for the last one, to figure out the domain of the last rational expression example, we would have to set the quadratic denominator equal to 0. And one way to solve that is to factor the quadratic. And so I hope with doing that you can see that the domain is everything except for 3 and minus 2. Okay, so that's a little bit more complicated of a domain. All right. Now, let's close this video by having you do some examples of evaluations and domain calculations. All right. Would you please evaluate this rational expression for x equal to 2? All right. Would you please evaluate this rational expression for y equal to 4? Okay. And also, would you please tell me the domain of a minus 3 over a minus 4, as well as 3x squared over x squared minus x. Okay, pause the video and do that now, please. Okay, I'll go ahead and do these myself. So for the first example, I replace x with 2, and what do I get? I get on top, I get 10 minus 2. On bottom, I get 8 plus 3. So I get 8 over 11. Okay? For the bottom example, I replace the y with a 4. So 3 times 4 minus 2, all over 4 plus 3, gives 12 minus 2 over 7, or 10 over 7. Okay? And then for the domain questions, exercises, the a, for a minus 3 over a minus 4, a could be everything except for 4. And then for the bottom example, you set that equal to 0 and solve that equation. So x squared minus x equal to 0. One way to solve that is to factor it. Okay? And so for that, x could be everything except for 0 and 1.